You said, right now the policy is a bit of a mistake in the world if we keep spending. With all eyes on Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and what the Fed might do, what are you expecting?
I expect more of the same. I think they haven't given up on trying to save the economy by printing more and more. And I must say that it is beneficial to markets because with more and more liquidity, with more money searching for a home, stock markets tend to stay up. But in the meantime, there's an awful lot of confusion as a result of the loss of confidence in the U.S. dollar and U.S. Treasuries.
That's right. Well, let me tell you what Treasuries are pricing in right now, Mark. About $500 billion in this new QE3 package is being called for as estimated by Treasuries. Your thoughts right now on what's going to happen at Jackson Hole?
I figure that you're going to see, of course, a lot of very, very fierce debates about what should be done, how it should be done, and so forth. But I think Bernanke has set the tone. He states very clearly what he wants to do, and I think that anyone doubts that he will veer from the course that he's already taken.
Meaning what? Meaning that he'll leave open policy saying we'll do all we can to support the economy and the markets?
Exactly, which means more liquidity, more printing, more purchasing of U.S. Treasuries, more efforts to keep interest rates down to levels. He's already stated very clearly what he wants to do, and I think we have to take him at his word. Now, of course, the impact longer term may be different, but the reality is what he wants to do is very clear.
Yeah, I want to ask you about the impact, because some are saying for investors in markets and equities, it's been a gift. But if you look at the global economy, it really hasn't helped with these QE packages. Your thoughts? This is a policy mistake in your view?
Well, it has helped in the sense that it has prevented probably a worse disaster. The complicating factor, of course, is that the U.S. cannot act on its own. Europe comes into the picture, and that's created another wrinkle to the whole picture. I believe that the situation in Europe will get better now that they have a facility to bail out these countries. But in the meantime, the loss of confidence has really hit both sides of the Atlantic, and that is something that's going to have to wear away as we go forward.
Mark, you think that Europe has gotten better, even though Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, is fully against, I guess, joint borrowing in these euro bonds?
Well, I think the debate in Europe is very, very clear. On the one hand, the Germans and others don't want countries to be bailed out unless they undertake substantial reform. On the other side, of people saying, look, give us the money and we'll worry about the reforms later. I mean, that's the basis of the debate. And I think it's good that Merkel is holding out and saying, look, we are not going to create bonds that are going to give us more and more debts without the reforms that are needed to balance budgets throughout Europe. And this will be done. I'm sure that these reforms will take place as time goes on.
You know, Mark, you sound pretty upbeat this morning. It sounds like to you that Europe is getting better. You said before we're not going to see a double dip in the U.S. So I guess these declines we're seeing in the markets, we just ride it out and things will get better from here?
Yes, I do think things will get better. And, of course, for us in equities, it's particularly good because people will eventually realize that in order to beat the inflation that's coming as a result of this higher money supply, they're going to have to be into equities.
And we've hit bottom, right? Is that what you're saying, Mark? We have hit bottom in terms of the declines we've seen for this year.
Yeah, I think for this point, just last week, as you know, one day Korea came down by 6%, so the volatility is incredible. But I do think we're bouncing along the bottom.
It is quite incredible volatility, making a lot of investors nervous and running for exits. But let me ask you this. Amongst the volatility we've seen and the selling we've seen in the last 2 weeks, have you done any moves, any trades for the Franklin Templeton Fund?
Yes, we're continuing to buy. When the stocks go down, the stocks that we like, we continue to add to our positions. So it's been an opportunity. And, of course, as this continues, we will continue to add as long as we have money to do so.
Mark, where have you been buying? What have you bought?
More of the same. It's more consumer stocks, more commodity stocks, I know a lot of people are pessimistic about commodities, for example, but we are not. We believe that with the amount of liquidity coming to the system, commodity prices have to be maintained at higher and higher levels. And of course, the volatility is going to be with us, with commodities, with stocks, with everything in the market. But the trend is very, very clear, and that's up.
Well, I got to ask you which markets you've been buying in. I know you've talked about Thailand being on the top of your list, Vietnam, something you're looking into, and Indonesia that you've invested heavily in.
That's right, yes. In the frontier market area, of course, Vietnam is there, but the liquidity is very poor. Places like Nigeria, like Kazakhstan, like Ukraine, that's for the frontier area. But for emerging markets generally, of course, Brazil, China, you mentioned Thailand, Indonesia. Russia, by the way, is particularly interesting at this stage.
Okay, Mark, one more question for you. Let me ask you, do you have any thoughts on what's unfolding in Libya with the rebels now in the center of Tripoli?
Well, I think that's the beginning of the end for Gaddafi. I think that probably in the next few weeks or so we will see some closure there. Then the real task begins on how to rebuild and unify the opposition. That will be the real challenge going forward. But I think we are beginning to see the end of this.
And now, and let me just ask you this. Is there any investing opportunity on this news flow that we're hearing from Libya?
Yes, of course. In fact, before this whole thing broke out, I was in Libya and I visited the stock exchange. They do have a stock exchange. It's very well run. And there's no reason why, if a good, stable government gets in place, with liberal policies, that we don't see resurgence of activity in the whole area. North Africa generally is very, very interesting from an equity point of view, from Egypt all the way to Morocco. Very, very interesting.